Ian.
Hello, Dave.
Ian, I'd
and
like
lady.
I just wandered in, put on these headphones.
Off the street.
Oh yeah.
Dave, you and I, we do this thing every week. We do Apex Adjacent, and it's a car show, ostensibly. And then lurking outside that door, usually, listening to half of this podcast every week, is my wife, Jenny, who has joined us this week.
Hello. How are you? How's it going up there?
It's wonderful to have you here, Jenny.
Thanks, Dave.
Because you have been distant yelling on the podcast one time before when I gave Ian a Harry Potter related question.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we heard like a muffled, right, as you were trying to get him to say the right answer. But it's wonderful to finally have you on the show. We've known each other for, I don't know, how long now?
A while.
Yeah, right? At least 8 years.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long I've known Ian, so I can't get specific.
You should probably know that. That's something you should probably know.
Maybe. It was an odd year, though. It was an odd numbered year when we met, and you know how I am with math and when it's odd numbers.
Wow. So, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I'm kind of.
She was worried we weren't going to have enough to talk about. Look, we already have things to unpack.
Yep. Just serving up softballs to me. Thank you. What Ian may have not told you about this show that I've suckered him into doing every week is that it's part car show, part other stuff, but also some part therapy. Right. So I figured it's probably good if I set the two of you down to get the story straight on our buddy Ian here, because we've only been hearing his side of things for well over 6 years.
And he's a notorious liar. I think everyone has probably figured that out.
That's right. True. That's true.
Exactly. He paints a wildly different picture from how he is in real life. Right? No, we're not doing that. We're having you on because you've done something wonderful. You've written a book, and it's getting published.
And before you start talking about it, which I do want you to do, that's the first thing, you're going to plug the book.
Sure.
That's what it is.
Sure I am. Okay.
We just set the stage. There we go.
Oh my God. I don't even know how to do that.
Ian has a background of Jenny's book cover.
Just a really, really zoomed in there, huh?
Well, it turns out that, screens are in landscape and books are not.
No, I know. They need to get on that.
The aspect ratio on books is just all over the place. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, those portrait or landscape books never really took off, did they?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've written a book, I've heard.
I have.
And I don't when is it coming out? And what is it?
Often. It's called Being Mary Bennett, and it comes out March 15th with Harper Teen. And it's a modern day rom-com inspired by Pride and Prejudice, told from the point of view of the middle sister, who is weird and quirky and just learning to be herself and accept her flaws, like we all should do.
I'm perfectly fine with my flaws. I'm still not perfect accepting them. Wait, what?
Well, I mean, having you on the show to talk about your book, I did prepare a bit. And so I've read the book. And
what version of it, though? He read a version
draft
a while ago.
5, I don't know.
Underscore final in the file name.
Yeah.
And so my unbiased question to you is, what is it like to have written the great American novel?
Yeah, we'll have to talk to someone else about that. No, writing has been a very long journey for me, as Ian knows. I have told this story before, but I wrote my first book, which was garbage, guys. Garbage. While Ian was deployed, because I had moved to Oklahoma and I didn't know anybody. And I wrote it in secret while he was in Iraq. And then he came home and I was like, I have something to tell you. And I mean, he was probably thinking oh shit, this is over. Our marriage is over. She's leaving me, because that is what happens a lot.
Right.
And I was like, I'm a writer now. I think I want to do this. So it's been a very, very long time.
Yeah. And to be clear, that was not the last Iraq War, that was when the British invaded, like in 1917. That's how long we've been together.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
This isn't awkward at all for me.
You're just gonna stand there staring like, ooh.
No, we really appreciate you coming on the show, Jenny, because I think one interesting thing that I've seen unfold throughout my time knowing both of you is how things have unfolded with cars with both of you, right? And I think that a lot of people are in a situation where a decision around a car doesn't just impact them, right? It impacts their family, it impacts their spouse, it impacts, whoever else, right? There's an orbit, right? These things don't happen in a vacuum for
all
everybody.
The oil spilled along 8th Avenue every time that he cracks an oil pan. Those people are involved. Yeah.
Right.
Big orbit.
EPA cleanup crews.
Right.
The fish that die from the oil going down the gutter. Yeah.
Just to be clear to everybody, before we started, Jenny was like, I figured eventually we'd get around to making fun of Ian. We made it like 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. Eventually. No, but it's been very interesting. And I think it's been something that, from being on the outside of it, I think it's just been something that I want to know more about, right? So I think I would love to hear like the pre-Ian Jenny when it came to cars, like before this weirdo came into your life, right?
Oh, yeah, no, it was not any better.
So why is that? Because a lot of people would say, how could it get worse?
I can tell you. I wanted my first car that I wanted. My friend down the street, we both wanted like forest green Camaros.
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
There are so many things wrong with that.
Well,
come on.
You need to frame it with the area of the country that you grew up in.
Yes. So, okay. I grew up south of Flint, which is like GM, UAW, home ground. I like barely knew anybody who drove. I mean, even a Ford. Everybody drove GM cars. I had never owned a non-GM car until, a decade ago. Yeah, because my car
was your first non-GM car, and if that was your GM, this is your first non-GM car.
Yeah, the VW.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, neither of my parents have ever owned a car that isn't a GM car. It was just a thing that you didn't do. So my first car was, Ian, what was it? A Cavalier? It was a Cavalier. No, it was the Corsica.
Yeah, you had your mom's Corsica, right?
A maroon Corsica. That the shocks. Oh God! It was in 1989.
1989. Okay.
And the shocks were so bad in the back that it would bounce, and the roads in Michigan are terrible. So I was pulled over one time because it was bouncing too much. And like the transmission went out, and I only had like first gear maybe, and I would try and like limp it to work.
Okay.
Are you looking it up?
Oh yeah, and you're gonna see it too. Yeah.
I mean, it had like velour, like maroon velour interior.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be clear, do you know how bad of a state your car has to be in to get pulled over in Michigan for a mechanical issue? Like,
I will say one thing with my cars, I never had rusty cars. And because you can get that a lot in the north because they salt the roads, you can get these like rust buckets. None of my cars were ever rusty, probably because they died too early before that could set in.
Oh, okay. All right. You euthanized them before the Alzheimer's rust monster could get them.
It was a mercy.
How humane.
I was just thinking of them.
Well, but so you went from the Corsica, which was a hand-me-down from your mom, right?
Yes.
And then you got that 98.
Was that what it was?
Cavalier. The 98 Cavalier.
It was like this weird color green Cavalier with like
some graphics on the side.
Shit on the side of it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like teal green or green green?
like teal green.
Did
What
it
would you
look
say,
like
Ian?
this?
Yeah, it was like the
No,
darker green,
did
but
not
it
look like
had
that.
like brown graphics on the side. Like
It was-
brown 90s graphics.
Not good. It was a 2-door.
It wasn't one of these, Ian.
I'm going to be
No.
honest with you. In my head, and Ian will,
About the same.
Give me
but
crap
the
about
same
this.
body style though.
Okay.
it looked like a Chevette because they all look like Chevettes, all of them. Did
Yeah,
he
let's-
say that I was going to say this?
Let's get into that. What
All
is
Chevettes.
this? It's all Chevettes. Is this like you have face blindness, but for cars?
I think it might be.
Okay.
They all remind me of the Chevette that we had growing up that my mom drove so long and so into the ground that then my papa took it over, and it had a hole rusted in the passenger side, like where you put your feet, wheel well
Yeah.
or whatever.
Floorboard. Yeah.
Floorboard. And so he just put like a piece of plywood over it so you wouldn't fall through to the road.
Safety.
Yeah. Look up like an 83 Chevette.
Okay.
And this is
Also
the
green.
base unit of car for Jenny. So
Yeah.
she just
So
assumes
everything to me is
Yeah.
a Chevette.
Okay, so like this kind of.
Honestly, I think they look pretty great. Like, I
mean-
would drive that.
They're kind of cute by today's standards, right?
That red one or
Yeah.
that little like sky blue one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look at this family. They're having a good time. They even have a golden retriever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all died because there's no airbags. So.
I was going to say, well, they all died because they were probably smoking in the car. Let's be honest.
Okay. All right. But like you just like someone might see like I don't know, like a computer where somebody is like, "Oh, that's an Acer, that's a Toshiba, that's a MacBook," right? Where someone else sees a computer. You just see like Chevettes, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
If
like
it
it's
is
a
two-door, if it's a 2-door hatchback,
Okay.
it's a Chevette.
Ian, you have a nice
Ian
nice
has a
Chevette.
Chevette.
Okay.
When I found the R32 so long ago,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this car. It's like, this is a big deal.
Right.
And I showed Jenny a picture, and she was like, it looks like a Chevette. I was devastated.
I was going to say you had to be gutted.
I was a little bit, yeah. And this has happened many, many times since then
Oh, yeah.
in our marriage, where I've shown her a car very excitedly, and she's like, it looks like a Chevette. And I'm just like, what?
And let me be clear.
No, it doesn't.
I like hatchbacks. Like I
Right.
like smaller cars. I tend to like hatchbacks. I feel like it was a fight to get me to a wagon because I thought that they were too big. But then when you have to like fit 2 kids in them.
Yeah.
But I'm not an SUV person. So
Sure.
I would never want to drive something big.
Okay. Okay. What do you think the biggest car is that you've driven?
We rented something when we were in Minneapolis. Do you remember this? It was giant.
Yeah, it was an XL Tahoe.
Oh,
It was enormous. And
Yukon XL. Yeah.
And I was dropping Ian off to like go meet his brother at a record store or something. And I parallel parked that thing. And I felt like I had conquered the world.
nice.
I
Well
mean,
done.
Truly. Yeah.
Well done. I like that. Yeah. Well, hey, you drove a big Chevette. Well done. We're here for it. So you had a Chevette. Your parents had a Chevette. You had a Corsica, right? Like where else do we go from here? It's all just hand-me-downs. There was never you never really recognized cars as more than like a point A to point B. Like where did the starry-eyed green
No.
Camaro kid go?
I think I just liked the Camaro because, when you're a kid and you have that best friend, and so you just kind of like assume their personality a little bit. She was more into cars. I mean, because it was at that point, like she liked to play basketball. So I was like, sure, I like to play basketball too. And if you've ever met me, I suck at sports. I'm very, no hand-eye coordination. I'm terrible at it. But I was like, yeah, I'll play horse. And I was going to lose every time.
Sure.
And so I think she was into Camaros, or I guess muscle cars, you would call them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll take one too. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, my car history is like so incredibly uninteresting. All of my like interesting car things are always adjacent to Ian.
Right. Or inflicted by Ian.
Inflicted on. I mean,
Yeah.
it was one of our first dates. And I picked you up in my Audi.
Yeah.
And
oh no, that was the first date. Our very first date, like the something fell out of your car.
the exhaust fell off right underneath the driver's seat.
Yep. Yeah.
Like fell on the ground.
And downhill.
No exhaust. Just open headers. Like right before the cat, it basically just fell off the car.
And it was already...
And it was like...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it was like an old ass Audi. I mean, I think it was like some sort of muted gunmetal gray. Am I making that up? Or
no, you're right.
It's become like a Soviet era film in my head.
Everything's sepia.
Right. I was wearing a babushka for some reason. It was awful.
Yeah. You just stand in line for bread. What the hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
But seriously, I mean, downhill from there, because then we went to go see, I don't know if Ian's ever talked about this, our first date.
Nope.
We went to go see Shrek. That was it. Seeing Shrek. So, I mean, it's not like the bar was set very high.
It sounds pretty charming to me.
Which was a new release at the time, I want to point out. We didn't go... We weren't seeing like a revival.
We went to an art house revival of Shrek.
Yeah. You didn't pop by the Blockbuster and get a VHS.
No. That's how long ago it was, though.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that Shrek was in theaters, and you guys, I would assume star-crossed lovers, because your mom sees this non-GM kid driving up in an Audi. Like,
I don't remember surely you picked me up, right? But I don't remember the first time you met my family. Yeah.
And I think the only person who really ever, your mom has complained over the years about my driving, certainly.
Yeah.
Which we can get into. But I think your dad, for a few years, complained a little bit about my car choices and maybe tried to change my mind a little bit, and then definitely gave up because he realized it was a definite lost cause.
My dad is not a confrontational person, so he'd just be like, oh, well, a Chevy looks like this, and just say something in passing, and then nothing ever again.
And that was him at a 10 on the scale of the heat that he's bringing.
Apoplectic with rage.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I like this. This is a good first date image. Yeah, just Ian in jean shorts. Yeah.
No jean shorts. Shorts.
I don't think Jenny has ever seen me in jean shorts.
You don't own any jean shorts.
No.
Absolutely not.
Just jean shorts and white New Balances and
pair of flip-flops.
Yep.
Okay, well now we're going too far.
This is over.
Yeah, right. Disconnecting. So as you and Ian got to know each other, and you could see this, there were some different choices with his cars, right? Like, tell me how this kind of evolved, and did you enjoy seeing what he was after or wanted to drive, or was it just... Yeah, go ahead.
Cars are just part of the deal with him.
Right.
It's just one of the things about him. I can't say, I mean, honestly, I've learned a lot about cars just by being around, because it's something that I feel always been passionate about. I mean, it was fighter jets, right? And then I feel it moved seamlessly into cars.
Yeah.
So it's just, I've picked up so much more than I would have known, especially about the worldwide car market. Because again, all I knew was what's available from Chevy.
Sure.
Maybe Ford or Chrysler, but no one cares about Chrysler. F them. So I learned things that I never knew about cars. And then I think the thing that kind of made me start having actual opinions about cars was watching Top Gear.
Okay.
because it was British. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch these idiots because they have accents and they're not in the US. Like, sold.
Okay. Okay.
And I remember watching that in his like dorm room, right? Because we were broke.
Yeah.
We would like lay around and watch.
Yeah, like
Top
early
Gear.
2000s, like torrents of Top Gear. Yeah, this has been like 2004, probably. Yeah.
I like that.
I made her watch Top Gear.
Well, I mean, if you're picking a car thing,
the wooing that went on. I mean, man.
Hey, I know she's an Anglophile, and so it's, you know, that's a way for us to meet in the middle, right?
right.
It really is. Because they would go cool places. I mean, I still remember the first time I saw the Vietnam episode of Top Gear, and I was like, I want to go there. I don't care about the car, the motorbikes that they're on. Like, you couldn't get me on one of those ever, but I want to go to Vietnam.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Well, and that's a good thing. That's a good segue for us too, because one of the other things that we wanted to talk about was how our history with cars, but more like as experiences, because we tend to, you tend to plan our vacations around road trips. And
yeah, travel is very important to both of you, period. I mean, it's very important, right?
Yeah, probably more to me than to Ian. But yeah, I tend to plan a lot of road trips because I just like that. I like that like vibe. But the cars are never the first time that we took a big long road trip that we were actually planning. It wasn't just to get from like Oklahoma to Michigan or
sure.
I planned this amazing road trip from San Francisco up to, we had a car to Portland, and then Ian was leaving and I rented the car, and I don't even remember what I rented, but it was
a Chevy Cobalt.
And it was just like, it could not handle the driving that Ian was doing. I mean, and we were on Highway 1, like it was a disaster. It was
Pacific Coast Highway. We cleared San Francisco, finally got into like an open stretch of road, and there was a Corvette in front of us. And I was like, you know what? I'm in a rental car with my wife and sister-in-law. I'm going to keep up with this Corvette. And I did for like 3 corners, and then the brakes caught fire. So
yeah,
that was the end of that.
Yeah, it was just like I put thought into so many other things, but I don't put thought into the cars, and I still don't. I just have Ian do that part. I'm trying to think, what else have we? I mean, the Mini that you rented in England was terrifying.
Right. Yeah. Like, we've heard, I've talked about this on the show before, because basically we flew to London, and we had a place in the Cotswolds that we were going to stay. So we landed in London. I had never driven a right-hand drive car before, or on the right hand, or on the other side of the road. And
so learn at Heathrow.
Yeah. So
one of the world's busiest airports. Yeah.
Right. A classic stick shift Mini off of Turo.
God, with like the British flag on it, which is,
it was fantastic.
It's a little cringy.
What?
To be like, no. I'm an American in this, like, what my view of every British person drives is a Mini with the British flag on it.
Now, I mean, I did wire a loudspeaker to just say pip pip cheerio every time I used the turn signal.
Yeah.
That was maybe a bit much. No, I don't know. I thought it was great. You, on the other hand, I mean, were not as enthused about it from the passenger seat.
No, I had like several strokes. I mean, it was so scary because I don't know what it was, that it seemed like every time that you stopped, I was like, this is it. The car is dying. Like every single time that he stopped, it sounded like the car was just in misery.
Okay. It turns out that was you in misery.
That was the me, your heart stopping,
slowly groaning. And there were those, I mean, there was like a roundabout at one point as we were, I mean, what is it, like the A whatever, as we're headed west of London to get into the Cotswolds. And once we got on the country roads, I felt a lot like you feel a lot more at ease, because if you stall there, you're not like shutting down London. traffic.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not going to be on the news that night.
Yeah.
Right? Like these two idiots. But also the roads were like so effing tiny. They're so narrow and and it's just, you feel like you're sitting on the wrong side of the car. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, and now looking back on it and we survived, I was like, that was really cool. But at the time I was like, this is every second in this car is a nightmare.
Okay.
Well, and it was even before we got into it because we had to like Lego or Tetris our luggage into it because we had gone to Iceland before that and we were on basically like a 2-week vacation. So we had 2 weeks of luggage with us.
Well, and 2 weeks from like Iceland. Yeah, we were going to be in everything from like Iceland to London. And we were like going to the theater and stuff and then up to Scotland. I mean, so we were all over the place with all sorts of weather. I mean, it was an amazing trip. It was one of the best trips that I've planned.
But it's not a like, let's just take a toothbrush and a swimsuit trip.
No.
Right.
No.
You had baggage.
Yeah.
So, and then we drove it. When we got rid of that car, we like met the guy at our hotel in London.
Yeah, we drove it into central London.
Like into central London.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Well, I think too, it was, I've driven a lot of older cars and so and my car has its own foibles. And Dave and I have talked about this on the show a lot before about like, have like heightened senses of like, oh, this buzz, that's fine. I can ignore that buzz. But this buzzing over here, that's going to be trouble.
New and we're very worried. Right.
But that car is like, for someone who's not used to anything like that, a classic Mini is very like sensory overload of like all the buzzes and vibrations are happening all the time in that car. So there's just like a lot. So that was the Mini.
Right.
I feel like that is an Ian and Jenny in a car success story.
For sure.
I'm curious to know what you think is your least favorite car of mine, either that I owned or rented or whatever. And something that I did that I was excited about and you were like, no, this is terrible.
The convertible that you guys had. Remember that like we went to 3 or 4 months
Miata.
ago?
Oh, the Miata?
Oh man, I did not like that.
Really?
It's just, that looks like somebody he's in ad sales, right? And he's like, you know what? I'm going to take you out. And it's like to PF Chang's. I mean, come on. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, it's a tasty restaurant.
I'm sorry. Are you guys sponsored by PF Chang's?
Yeah.
Go get that, girls. Yeah, it's just, there's something like skeezy about it.
Okay.
For somebody who knows so little about cars, I definitely have opinions, like knee-jerk opinions that are based in nothing.
This I like, and I'm going to stop showing everyone a Chevette because they don't need to see that anymore. But so I think one thing that I love about Ian is that he is very intoxicated by the idea of a car, right?
Yes.
Like he's definitely intoxicated by like the Miata, right? Like the idea of it, right?
But that Saab.
Thank you, because
I'm a romantic.
Because on paper, right? Ian sees it and he's sold, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the Saab Turbo X, or I don't know if you know this or not. We started calling it on the show the Tubo X because the R fell off.
Because the R fell off. Yeah.
The Tubo X.
That effing car. I mean, look, the thing is, it looked really cool. Like I liked how it looked. When he showed it to me and was like, this makes total sense. You're a million years pregnant. I'm going to fly across the country and buy this car.
I still can't believe that you did
the company's not around. Everything will be great. Let's put our newborn in this. I mean, but it looked cool. So I was like, and also I was so pregnant that I was just like, sure, whatever. Like, whatever. So we did. And I think it was a disaster from the beginning. I mean,
no, it took Oh yeah, the brakes.
The brakes. The brake line, like, I don't know, was cut or something.
What? I didn't know about this.
So I would try and like pull out of the alley onto 13th, which is a busy road. And you would hit the brakes and there would be no brakes. It'd be like, no brakes. And it would just kind of roll out into the street.
What?
And I kept telling Ian this and he was like, this doesn't happen for me. I'm like, well, F you, dude. It's happening. Yeah, there was something with like the fluid.
Yeah, so it was the booster. So there was like a leak in the boosters. There was like a booster for cold starts or something, and it was different than. And at some point, the main booster would take over, and apparently it was a common issue with those cars. And it didn't happen for me because she would be like, "This is happening," and then by the time I would get there, the car was warm, and so it would have vacuum pressure in it.
Yeah, so it would. Happen. Yeah, it would only happen in the beginning, and like enough
cold
to make you right enough to make you think that you're losing your mind.
Gotcha.
That you're like,
yeah, like the car's gaslighting you. Yeah,
right. I was like, this effing car. One time I was doing Thanksgiving shopping at Whole Foods, and I shut my door and my mirror fell off. It shattered in the parking lot. And I was just like, cool guys. I mean, the car was just, but people would wave at me. People would be like, hey, cool car. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. You've obviously never driven one. And I mean, it was so unreliable. You would never know when it was going to start. One time I was somewhere. I went to El Dorado Springs. They have an old school like outdoor hot springs pool.
Yeah.
And they called over the loudspeaker that whoever had the Saab, their car was smoking in the parking lot because it was like smoke was billowing from under the hood because Ian buys terrible cars. I will say so far the VW, the wagon has been great.
Right.
But I mean, his car.
Right.
Like his red car
has been great.
Yeah.
Mostly.
I don't know if you could hear that sound of disgust. No, I don't mind Ian's car. I think it's fine. I mean, it has no like top coating, which is weird as hell.
Right. I mean, I think it's an issue if it's your only car.
Yeah, and it was our only car for a while.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So.
That silence says a lot. That silence before children, it was your only car, right?
Yeah, for a little bit. Because to be fair, the worst car that we've ever had between us was that Saturn of yours.
The Saturn was terrible. Although, so Ian had what was it? A Subaru?
The Subaru that blew up, yeah.
He had a Subaru wagon, which I liked. But again, when he was deployed and yeah. And he's just like
he's hiding.
Leaving.
He's hiding from he's coming downstairs to disconnect your microphone.
The alarm would go off. I don't know if it was on the same frequency as another alarm, but it wasn't. He had it parked like in the garage, and then he pieced out to Iraq and, on a pleasure cruise.
You made it sound like I abandoned you.
Yeah. And the alarm would go off at like midnight, 1 a.m. And I never knew what to do because it wasn't my car. And I avoid car maintenance. Like the plague. And so I would just like sleep with the car fob under my pillow to like stop the alarm whenever it would turn on. I don't know what was going on with that. I never did know.
It's one of those like late 90s remote things. And I think it was just on a similar frequency to a neighbor who like would come home late sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I had witnessed it after that. Like, I can't remember where I was. I was in a like a restaurant parking lot or something, and somebody unlocked their car and my alarm started going off. And I was just like, guys, come on.
But I also felt like I couldn't go to a mechanic and be like, look, it's not my car. you need to disable the alarm for me
Right.
so I can steal it properly. I mean, I just didn't. And I was like 23, 24. So
Sure.
instead, my genius idea was I'll just keep this fob on me at all times and never get a full night of sleep. That was my idea.
I mean, right? What else could you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny, if there's a model of perseverance, like what you've had to endure with Ian's vehicular choices, it's really interesting because like it's the Volkswagen Alltrack, your wagon, is like, this is a super capable vehicle. It's very reliable. This is like, it's a great car. Like I have no qualms with it. I think it's fantastic.
I really like it. Really, really like it. I mean, the company is still in business, which is a big plus. Boom,
Ian, takedown.
Well, and I remember with the Saab, he tried to be like, oh, the glue on things kept falling off, like anything glued in the car.
Right.
I mean, like the R.
Right.
And he'd be like, well, that's when GM took it over. And at first I was like, really? And then I realized like, oh, he's full of shit. He bought a terrible car and doesn't want to own up to it. I mean, that's just him though. Like he is into kind of crap cars that he loves.
Well, he's into the idea of the car, right? But then you have to deal with not the idea. You have to deal with it smoking in the parking lot of the hot springs.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like not knowing when it's going to break down. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty that goes into it.
See, now you're complaining about it smoking in the parking lot, but that's a useful feature. I mean, if you're in a crowded parking lot and you need to be able to find your car, you just follow the plume of smoke.
You're like, which one is on fire? I'll take that one.
Yeah.
There was one time when I had that blue Saab, the Vigan, right, where I parked it at the work. And I walked away from it and the alarm started going off. Right. Mm-hmm. And I definitely didn't hit the key. Like I had it in my hand. It was like right there. Like I could not have hit it. And I was like, oh shit. Like, so the next thing that goes through my mind is that I'm going to be the one, like the security guy is going to send out the email to the whole building. Like the owner of the blue, I'll be that guy. Right. Like that's Jenny.
I know.
Jenny.
It's just part of the package.
Right.
Like you get the weird cars.
Right. And what does Ian get?
And the weird guy.
Personality.
I know. And his complaints about this escalator at DIA and expensive drinks.
No, we're not letting you soapbox our podcast into taking down the DIA airport again.
No, I'm not listening to that. Every time we're there.
If I've heard enough, imagine what you've heard.
Oh, God.
If it was just 8 inches wider, I could walk up.
Yeah. No.
Right. Well, so riding with Ian or driving with Ian, right? You are often on the receiving end of like car information that has come into Ian's vision, right? Like his field of view.
I tune that out. Totally tune that out. Come on.
Okay. But the thing you can't tune out is when he asks you to take a picture for him.
Oh, he doesn't I feel like, of like other cars.
Yes. Yes.
And every time I'm like, why?
See, that's what I want to get to. How much do you care as to why? Like,
it's more that I am always suspicious. I'm like, why are you taking a picture of this? Why do I need to take a picture of this and take up space on my phone? I don't know. Yeah, I've had to take. It's mostly license plates, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot
or
of
like if you see anything wrapped, right, that they're doing like the tests.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my God, the headlights are different or whatever. So
that is what we do. We do get pretty excited when headlights are different.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. Headlights are different. The podcast.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like I need to give a plug for Ian. I always feel safe when he's driving. Like truly, he is an aggressive driver, not as aggressive as when we were first dating. that was terrifying. But he's a good driver, and I always am like, okay, I know he's got this. Except for like, there's one particular part on I-70 when you're like coming down out of the mountains, where every single time I'm like, you need to slow down, dude. But he's a very good driver.
It's a big right-hand turn, isn't it?
Yeah. No, there's a left hand.
Oh,
it goes
okay.
down. And it's never because I'm afraid of him driving off the side of a cliff. I'm afraid of him driving aggressively and the people around us reacting and causing accidents. But I always feel like he knows what he's doing. Like
he's a great driver.
He's a good driver.
He's a great, right. I mean, like he just is, period. Right. And he loves it when we talk about his talents.
No, I was going to say,
well, and I have to say, as a professional driver, I mean, my opinion holds a lot of weight.
I really appreciate those compliments. And I think it's the perfect segue into talking about how our parents met.
Yeah. I'm sure you've talked about this before, right?
Nope.
It's not been on the podcast. No. And I only recently learned about it. Within the last 2 weeks?
Wow.
Ian?
Yeah.
Guys, Ian and I had just started dating. This was post Shrek.
You were like, I'm going to keep this guy around until the sequel comes out and then make my decision.
Yeah. And I got in the car with him. Actually, I was just talking about what a good driver you are. I take it all back.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Every single bit of it, because he was driving too aggressively. And when we were younger, because we got together when we were about 10, 11 years old, it felt like we were very young. He was a much more aggressive driver and wasn't a good driver to back it up. Like, I remember one time you passing a car on like not the right side.
Allegedly.
Like on the shoulder. No, because I was in the car with you. And then like having to like slam on the brakes because he was trying to get cut in. Anyway, so we're driving on this dirt road and he tries to do some like dumb stunt.
It's called the Scandinavian Flick.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's like a rally driver thing. And that's not what happened.
Because you were into rally cars at that point. Very into rally stuff.
Yes.
And so he tries to do this thing, loses control of the car, and we hit a tree. And like the grass catches on fire. I, in the process, punched myself like in the face and broke my glasses. And my nose was bleeding. And this was how my mom met his dad when they had to come pick us up. Yep. And somehow we got married.
Here you are.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, and our parents have only interacted a handful of times. So that's one of maybe like, I don't know, less than 10 times they've interacted.
Like that, the wedding.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And I just remember my mom being I don't remember her being mad. I remember her being more bemused. And I remember your dad being mad. Mm-hmm. And my mom just being like, what? But my mom adores Ian. Like one of the first times she met you, she threw an apple core through your window and like hit your head.
Mm-hmm. How does that correlate to love?
That's how she shows her love.
Yeah.
Just apple cores to the face. That's how you know.
Gotcha.
But I remember her being more like, this is very weird. And
yeah. It's that classic show of affection of throwing rotten fruit at someone.
Yeah. That's how you guys do it, right? Just a cantaloupe right to the face.
Yeah, and that's how I met your mother. Right. Yes. We were at the Hy-Vee in the produce section. Yeah.
We got into a massive food fight.
Right. Well, so I love that. I love oh man, just twists and turns. I want to know if he ever bought you the Shrek soundtrack as just a nice gift. Do you have it on vinyl?
No, for our wedding, I played an acoustic version of the Smash Mouth song for her.
That did not happen.
Let's talk about some of the characters in your book that's coming out, and figuring out matching cars to characters, because that's something that, like, I don't know, Dave and I talk about all the time with like TV shows that we love or movies that we love, where characters have like a car that's perfect for them or a car that's not so perfect for them and it's really distracting.
Yeah.
So like this is a Pride and Prejudice sort of retelling. So, or not retelling, but sequel. So like the Darcy character, we had to figure out a car for the Darcy character.
Yeah, I had Ian kind of like give me ideas for what each character would be driving today, right? So I would like give him, this is who he is, these are his traits, like what would he be driving? Because that isn't top of mind for me, right? So it was the character. So there's like not the villain, but kind of like not the great guy. And I really wanted him to be in a weird, like a flashy car, right? And so Ian helped me figure that out of like what he would be driving.
What did he end up in? Was it a BMW of some sort?
No, it's a Porsche.
A Porsche.
I have him in like a yellow, like, because I figured that was just like this like bright garish, because he wants attention, right? Mm-hmm. But then not in this book, but in the next book, you also helped me with what the love interest was going to drive, because he was in like a Volvo station wagon, because he's like a hiker. So
right, yeah, a little more crunchy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a way to like round out the characters and give them that tiny bit of backstory without writing a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. No, yeah, I think it's fun. I don't know. We talk a lot about like The Office being a really good example of that, where like that Sebring convertible, because when we were talking about this before, you were like, oh, I don't ever really think about that much, but I brought up that Sebring for Michael Scott, and you're like, oh yeah, that's like just so dead on. It's
so perfect. Well, and the Jim drives the Saab. Like bringing it back to the Saab. He drives this great hatchback Saab that I really liked and seemed like perfect for his character.
Yeah.
So like when it's done right, it really, really works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Well, what do you say we play a quick game?
Yeah, definitely. So as you've been riding with Ian and he's suckered you into taking license plate pictures.
Yeah.
I've assembled a list. We play on the show a license plate game, right? So I'm going to give you 3 pictures of cars and the license plates are going to be blanked out. And Ian hasn't seen these either. So this is new to both of you, right? And so you're going to guess the plate to the car, right? That you'll have the plates to the side and you get to match them. So
I've heard this from like just the one-sided of Ian trying to guess the cars.
Yeah. Yeah. And this game, I think it doesn't really require that much knowledge about cars. It does require an ability to make a knee-jerk judgment about somebody. So I think you're going to be A-okay.
This for me.
Yeah. All right, let me pull up the quiz here.
I wish we had pictures of 3 Chevettes. That'd be really funny. But
yeah.
I don't know.
The hard thing is, I have a hard time like telling what cars are.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not able to tell them apart. Like I know that you guys both can.
Right.
Yeah, no, we can walk through that.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and like we'll zoom in on each of these and kind of like, talk about them. But the license plates that you have to pick from, I should tell you this one's titled, "You're Not the Boss of Me." Okay. All right. So these are license plates that kind of fit that theme. The first one is "Be Awesome." Right. I just imagine Ian having a hard time receiving someone like seeing this plate, right? Because you're not the boss of Ian. You're not going to tell him to be awesome, right?
Yeah. I will be terrible if I want to be terrible.
Exactly. Another one that says "Be Yourself," right? Great. And then the third one says "Preachin' One." Okay, I guess just plain preachin' was taken. All right?
Yeah.
So we'll zoom in. We'll kind of tell the folks that are listening like what 3 cars are presented here. So the first is this is a Ram truck, right, Ian? This is a Dodge truck.
I thought maybe it was an old Ford.
I think it's a Dodge pick 'em up truck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you might be right.
Right?
Yeah, I think you are right. Yeah.
Just a blue truck. Oftentimes there's kind of context clues, Vietnam veteran. Okay, great.
I know. I was going to say, I zoomed right into that.
Okay, some kind of very special antenna or something.
I was going to say the whip on the back is the thing that I'm most intrigued by on this.
What is that?
It's that's like a CB radio antenna.
Oh, I thought it was one of like the weather chasers.
Oh, maybe
it could be.
Hunting tornadoes.
Right? And then the chain license plate frame here. Okay.
And then what is this adapter for? I feel like I know what that is on the tow hitch.
It's to step it down for a lower trailer. Yeah.
For a lower trailer. So maybe like yard working trailer or something.
Yeah.
A small trailer. Okay.
So then we're presented with a Chevy Cruze. A just plain black Chevy Cruze. This is, I guarantee you, Ian has rented one of these at some time or skipped over it at the rental car lot.
Oh, for sure.
Right, for something
I've had
else.
at least 3 of these airborne.
Right. Lastly, just a Ford Fusion. Right. Just a very silver Ford car. Okay.
And that's just like a sedan, right?
Yep, just a standard sedan. Yeah, you'd have to try real hard to get more vanilla than that. That skips vanilla and goes straight to tapioca.
I will say though, I believe that license plate frame on the Fusion is a Harley Davidson license plate frame.
Really?
Oh, good eye.
Which might be useful.
Yeah. Good eye.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Remember, we gotta stereotype these people and figure out.
I mean, my first thought was that the pickup truck was the preach-in one.
Okay. Okay.
Because I don't know why.
No, yeah, there's a vibe you get, right?
Right. I can't imagine somebody having that truck and being like, you know what I want on the back? To say, be awesome. Like, that just doesn't.
Sometimes it's process of elimination that does it, right?
Yeah, but it's the next two that I truly have no idea. Okay. So I'm going to say the be yourself for the Chevy Cruze, the black car.
Okay.
And then the be awesome for the Ford Fusion.
Okay. All right. Ian,
I feel confident
go ahead.
in none of those. Confidence is at 0.
That's perfectly fine. When has confidence ever stopped? Lack of confidence stopped us from doing anything.
Yeah. No.
Right? Okay.
Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the Harley Davidson thing because I feel like I don't know if a Harley Davidson rider would say awesome. I feel like they would say be yourself with zero self-awareness, that like every Harley dad dresses in the exact same with the exact same clothes for the last 30 years.
Which one was the Harley Davidson?
It's the silver
Fusion
one down here. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm gonna agree with Jenny on the truck that's preaching one, but then I'm gonna flip the other two. I'm gonna say be awesome is the Cruze and be yourself is the Fusion.
Okay. Are you both prepared for the answers?
No.
I'm prepared to be wrong.
Also, I should let you know that some of our listeners have sent these in. These aren't ones that I got at all.
I was going to ask where you got them, if they were all in Denver, because none of them are Colorado plates.
Right. So,
because I think the top one is New Hampshire. Or Delaware?
It
looked like it was
Florida. So our buddy Dana sent one in. Jesse sent one in. And Ian, your father, sent one in.
Oh, he must have sent in a Wisconsin one.
There you go.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here you go. Here's the answers. Right. You guys.
You had the preaching one, right?
Preaching one. Nailed it. Ian, you took it with the be awesome and the be yourself. Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, those felt like, because the Cruze and the Fusion to me, again, are basically the same car.
They're both Chevettes, right? Yeah.
I couldn't tell you
sedans.
what was different about either of them.
Right.
Chevette sedans, exactly. No, yeah, and it was, if I hadn't seen the license plate holder, I think I would have been with you. But then I saw that was what tipped me off.
You think Harley Davidson people are like follow?
I think they all think that they're individuals, but they have a club where they all wear hats.
Dressing the same.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Be yourself, just like me.
Right. Right.
Right. Right. Very.
The preaching one. I felt like that one was the
No, you nailed that one. Yeah.
Right.
But
I love it.
I just oftentimes, like, I hear my wife's reaction to a vanity plate or to some kind of car, right? Like, there was a sticker on the back of a black pick-em-up truck that I got a picture of years ago. And just on the driver's side, on the back window of the pickup truck, the word taken was there. Right?
Okay.
Not like the fucking...
Not like the Liam Neeson.
Nope. Right.
It was like in a font. It was like in a scripty font too,
Yeah.
right? Like it was like
Like the sweatshirts that people wear that are like, I'm her husband.
Exactly.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Right. And like her visceral, like, like, you know, like that kind of stuff. So like, I imagine Ian's, like, somebody directing him via their license plate, the reaction that he would have, and it's not good, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually just like, I know I don't need to be friends with that person.
Right.
If they have a vanity license plate.
Usually.
Or that you don't like bumper stickers either, though.
No, but I'm not like, I don't like get offended by them. I just don't get them. I don't understand them.
Right.
I don't understand going out of your way to tell the world about yourself, he says on his podcast.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, yeah. And then there's the whole factor of somebody, you know, actually paying the government more money for the thing that they want to say versus
Bizarre.
like a $7 bumper sticker, right? Because vanity plates are more expensive.
I didn't know that. I've
Yeah.
I've never pursued a vanity plate. So.
Yeah, no, you have to pay extra money to do it. And then you have to, I think in some states you have to then go back to the DMV too. Like it's a second trip to the DMV.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which everyone loves.
Yeah, why would you do that to yourself?
Right. You know, that fun place that we all love.
Yeah.
That you want to give them double the money that you would normally.
The shorthand for a fun place to hang out, the DMV.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see here.
I think we should close out. What are your hopes and dreams for our car future? When you sell 1 million of Being Mary Bennett available from Harper Teen on March 15th, pre-order now. What sort of car would you buy me, and what sort of car would you buy you? Let's see if you've been paying attention.
Well, you
What
want.
I've been saying every day for the last.
Has he been
10
doing the
years.
equivalent of like the kid leaving the Sears catalog open to a certain page around
Yes.
Christmas time?
No, I know that it's an Alfa Romeo. And that is as specific as I can get.
That's when
You've
you just text me and say like, Dave, what is the car that he wants, right? And then I text him and I'm like, I want to make sure that you want an Alfa Romeo GTV.
The
Is that what it is?
1974 Alfa Romeo GTV, which I have said repeatedly. I'm going to say weekly for 10 years.
It sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher after a while.
It does. It does. I know it's an Alfa Romeo, and I know that he's shown it to me a lot. And so that's what he wants. And see, this is the thing. I don't put a lot of thought into cars. I'm guessing because our son is like an eco-terrorist in training, it'll be an electric car. He really wants to get he was just practicing like a Goebbels-esque speech earlier about climate change that he wanted to give. He went to his whole school eventually. He went from like friends to my class to the whole school. I think we're going to be bullied into getting an electric car by him.
Yeah. Do you know the episode of The Office where Dwight gives the speech at the sales conference?
Yes.
That's him.
That is very much Nico's public speaking style.
Yep.
Where he just like pounds the table when he's for emphasis. It's frightening.
Yep. So probably an electric car, but I don't really like. Tesla seems, I don't know, like it's a bit culty. So
a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I tend to like shun things that I feel that too many people are too into. But I don't know what other electric cars are out there. So
Sure. Yeah.
I'm guessing it'd be an electric car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Probably.
Can I interest you in a Volkswagen electric car? Because they make one.
Oh, you talked about that. Ian talked about that.
Yeah.
But it's not a wagon, right? This is the thing. I really like wagons.
Sure.
Once I was like convinced of wagons, I'm like 100% in.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So an electric wagon, I guess.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, Jenny, where should people go to pre-order your book and then also follow you on the socials?
To pre-order my book, you can go to my website. I think there's a pre-order link there. If there's not, I'll put one on there really quick. And then
we'll post the link. We'll post a link in the show description and on the YouTube description as well.
But I'm on Twitter at Jen_P and on Instagram at JCP Writes.
There we go. And this is the pre-order page.
Yes.
That's on Bookshop. So Bookshop is cool because it links you to local bookstores instead of going to
Glamazon.
The space penis.
To something big that doesn't keep money local.
And you could get it on compact disc. What more could you want?
Who reads it?
Who on compact? I have an audiobook. I was like, I don't know. The person who buys it reads it.
No. Did you record you reading the book?
God, no, that would have been awful. I had to listen to like 4 audiobook narrators and pick one.
Oh, okay.
So that comes out, but I haven't heard the narration at all. So it'll be a surprise for me too.
Okay. Right on. Well, it's a monumental career step. Like I can't put that into any other terms, really. Like this is fantastic, and I'm really happy for you. We're really happy for you. Yeah, for sure. I'd like there are no words to like contextualize the magnitude of something like this in someone's life, right? Like this is really, really big, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and maybe Ian will get this Alfa Romeo something.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Mr. Netflix, call us.
Yep.
Everybody else, Dave, what should they do if they enjoyed this?
They should text us insane vanity plates to 720-515-1391. Yeah, and pre-order Jenny's book for sure.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. This was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will see both of you very soon. Jenny, we'll see.
We'll see if we get around to it. We can try and do something.
All right. We love you, everybody. Goodbye.